Blessings, greetings, and welcome to Pull Yourself Together. Now, the whole idea of pulling yourself together is something that people intuitively recognize. They recognize through the colorful use of that phrase, pulling the self together, that somehow they have become fragmented. Now, as we are going to explore this evening, that means that literally there are fragments or aspects of the aura that are diverging in different directions. So these fragments of the aura that diverge, they do so as a way of protecting the self. So some level of the subconscious or some level of mind is trying to protect the self by creating a fragmented reality. The idea being you push certain things aside, you become unconscious of them, and then seemingly you feel less overloaded, or seemingly you feel safer. So the intention is good. The result is that you can be left with fragments that are each doing different things. What we are going to explore is how there is a fundamental reality that underlies all of that fragmenting. The fundamental reality is that parts of the aura are floating out from the core self. Now, this whole idea of core, many people talk about core in conjunction with the essence of your soul or the essence of your identity, and that's partially what we are referring to. But specifically this evening, we are talking about the core as the spine, or at least the location of the spine, that vertical column of presence or vertical column of light in your body, which is equivalent to the hub of a wheel. You could think of it as the central hub of you. So we are going to be practicing bringing the fragments back and melting them into the core of the self. Now, let's start with getting present, getting to know the core, and getting to familiarize ourselves with the whole idea that we have conscious control over what our mind does, what our feelings do, and what is happening in our physical body, what is happening to the energy of the self. So, tune in, if you would, right now, and get a sense that here you are in present time. Get a sense that you are alive, that you are you, that you are in your body, and as you breathe, get a sense that you are consciously choosing to breathe. And that whole idea that you are making conscious choices is fundamental to all of this, because anytime a person has become fragmented, some part of the self chose on its own to do something, maybe for a good reason, but the result is fragmenting. And so, as a result of that fragmented choice, the core is now dissociated from something that it needs. It would be like a wheel that had some spokes missing, and so the hub was not as secure as it could be, the hub at the center. So notice your breathing and notice your core, and get a sense that you have conscious choice. You can choose where your energy is. Now notice what happens as you start to feel into your core and you start to recognize that the aura all around you is actually supposed to be connected to that core. And start in your imagination to get a sense that from that vertical core in you, there are infinite connecting beams or fibers of light. You could think of yourself as having millions of little fibers of light that extend from your vertical core out into your aura, and we could call these the fibers of the aura, but for our purposes tonight, we are going to call them attention fibers. The idea that some part of the aura is reaching out and sending its attention somewhere. And that's something that you can easily sense, you can easily visualize it, and you start to recognize, well, what if I had conscious control over my aura fibers? What if I had conscious control over my attention fibers? Now, what that would mean would be that you could choose where your attention was. Now, many times people think they're choosing where their attention is, but what they don't realize is that they're just ricocheting between one part of the mind and another part of the mind. When you bring your attention to your vertical column of presence, your vertical column of light, you are tuning into the energetic center of yourself, the energetic hub of you. And so this idea that attention is always radiating from that center empowers you. It starts to put you in control of your reality on a really basic level, basic bedrock level. This is the self. The self is here. The self is making conscious choices. And when you do that, you can start to clear up things from the past that became fragmented. Now, by the past, that could be 5 minutes ago, 5 days ago, or 5 years ago. It could be anything in the past. Anything that in those circumstances got fragmented, you can do some healing on that and you can bring your energy back. Now, we are going to start with some basic exercises. This is just getting familiar with aura fibers, getting familiar with the idea that you have conscious control and you can work with them. Your aura fibers can be a tool that you use. So tune in to your vertical column of self, your vertical column of energy. Either imagine it or feel it or see it, however you experience it. And get a sense that from any point that you intend, you can reach out the aura fibers of attention from your core. And try that right now so that you can reach out with your aura fibers and literally touch anything in your environment. Now, this is very basic, but it's really profound because most people are not working with their aura in that way. They see themselves, in a sense, as being separate from their environment. But this is saying something different. You see something, your attention, you actually sense the attention fiber reaching out and touching an object. Now, that would apply also to thoughts and feelings. You can reach out and touch thoughts and feelings with your attention fibers. And frankly, when somebody is fragmented, what has happened is they were reaching out and tuning into something, and they started to live a whole little separate reality, and that started to form a little bubble, you might call it, that floats around somewhere, a little virtual reality. So you reach and touch an object, and you reach and touch another object, and you do that right now. And as you do that with your energy, always stay connected to your core. So when you reach and touch something, really have a sense, in my core, I am centered in my core. I'm reaching out and touching something, but I'm staying in my center core perspective. I know who I am. I know what I am doing. And that keeps you from going into that hypnotic state where you forget who you are and you start to become someone or something else. Now, let's look at your aura and let's get a sense of what happens as you do that. Okay, everybody looks brighter. I want you to really get a sense. Each time you reach with your attention fibers and you touch something, get a sense, I am choosing to do this. I am choosing to extend my energy. I am doing this consciously. Now, here is a really powerful discovery. When you have reached out and touched whatever it is that you are reaching out to, start to bring your attention fibers back. You could imagine retracting them. And remember, if at all possible, stay in contact with your core as you do this so that the hub of the wheel of self is there. So you reached out and you touched, and then you retract the attention fibers. And so you can literally feel that they are melting back into the core. The attention fibers are melting back into your core. That's good. Okay. Notice what that feels like. Because if you can do that, you have the basics for bringing your energy back from situations where you became inappropriately fragmented. And that is a really powerful place to be. So, question just came up. There was a subjective feeling when reaching out of greater confidence, but when bringing the aura fibers back to the self, old fears or old concerns came up. Now, one of the things that often happens when you start to extend your aura fibers, there's a feeling of confidence because you are getting more of a sense that you exist and you are feeling more connected with the world. However, the moment of power is when you can make the conscious choice to retract your energy and bring it back to you. Now, one of the ways that people stay distracted is to be fragmented. They stay in connection with too many things, and that keeps them from being aware of themselves. So it's not a paradox. It's simply that there is value in reaching out and touching things with your attention, but there is equal value in being able to bring the attention back to your core. So when somebody fails to do either of those, they might be imbalanced. Learn both parts, the reaching part and the pulling attention back part. Okay, let's explore ways that you can do this. Now, let us say that there's somebody who you think inappropriately about. It could be somebody that you had an argument with. It could be somebody that you are fixated on. We are going to put in the same category somebody who you have a bad attitude about or somebody who you are inappropriately preoccupied with. The reason it's the same category is because it's pulling you off center. It is pulling your mind in a particular direction. It's keeping you fixated, whether it's fantasy-oriented or whether it's reaction, emotional reaction to something in the past. All of that is keeping you from your center. In a case like that, and everybody has something or someone where their attention gets drawn to it, what you know now is that it is likely that fibers of attention are reaching into that, in a sense, getting stuck in that reality. So one of the things you will find when somebody is fixated on something or someone is that they forget themselves. And it's almost as if they are hypnotized. They have forgotten that they are themselves. And that, of course, is one of the reasons why they get stuck. And so what you do, tune in now to the person that you have preoccupations with, either inappropriate fantasy or inappropriate reaction to something that happened. Get a sense of your core and get a sense that relative to that person, you pull your attention fibers back. Now, where do you pull them to? You melt them back into your core. And how do you do that? You pretend, you imagine, however you want to do it. Just realize that there is a fluidity and flexibility. Now, melt it back to your core and realize when you do this, you might have quite a number of fibers of attention reaching into a particular direction, especially if for years you've been telling yourself, oh, that terrible person, or whatever. Pull back what you can, melt your attention fibers back in your core. Notice what it feels like. It's a subtle shift of your perception, but it's tangible and very meaningful. So pull the energy back. Okay, just had a question about, isn't there a concern with energy healing practices of taking on some of the energy from somebody? And is that an issue with this practice? The answer is no. We are bypassing that issue because you are returning your attention to yourself. In other words, It's very much like if you were reaching your arm out the window and you realize, hey, I don't have to be reaching my hand out the window. And so you bring your hand and your arm inside the building. You are simply returning your attention to you. You are not bringing in anybody else's energy. You are not bringing in anything that would be a problem. This is, in a way, so basic and it's so essential. It's not even dealing with the other situation other than saying, hey, my energy has been somewhere that it doesn't need to be. I'm bringing my attention. I'm bringing the self back. I am bringing my own energy back to me. And every time you practice that, it reinforces the idea that you made a choice, you got stuck somewhere, your energy went wandering, and your energy is coming back. It's the pure energy of you. You are not bringing anything else back. You are not bringing anyone back. You are simply making a new choice with your attention. Let's do some more creative applications of this. As I look at everybody's aura, a lot of stuff is coming up to the surface. Let's do an experiment. Try this right now. Get a sense that you can pull your energy fibers and melt them into your core, and you could do that for hundreds or thousands of situations. Just feel your attention fibers. You don't have to know what they're connected to, but if they're reaching out here and there, just start to melt them back in your core. That is making everybody's aura look brighter. That is good. And really notice what it feels like when it melts back to core. Notice how everything feels more electric and alive within, but it also feels smoother and calmer. Okay? So get a sense of what that is like. Excellent. Okay. Now, we are going to bring a new level to the practice. We know how to reach out. We know how to melt the energy back. But we are going to do some energy balancing on the energy that has returned to the core. Now, the reason for that, even though the energy is safe back within the self, the energy, in a sense, has been in a somewhat naive state of awareness. It was stuck somewhere, and so we need to do something to really welcome it back and to help it shake loose any of its confusion or any of its fear or whatever. Really quickly, with your attention, just reach out into the room, touch something, and then retract the energy and bring the attention fiber back to your core. And then with one of your hands, just imagine that you are reaching into that place in the core where the energy returned to, and just do a little spiral shape or a little circular shape, almost as if you were giving yourself a massage in that part of your body. Okay? So just do that, and if you're wondering, well, how do you do that? Just do it clockwise and counterclockwise. That way you take care of all contingencies. So you reach the energy out, you melt the energy back in your core, then with one of your hands, you do some little swirls, little circles in that part of the body. And what you're doing is shaking loose any fear or confusion. And that is starting to reweave your core. It's actually doing a deep energy balancing clearing on your own self. Okay, this is good. Now let's try it again. Reach out, touch something with the tip of your attention fiber, and then melt that attention fiber back into your core. And with one of your hands, you do some circles or some spirals in your core in that location where you brought it back. Good. Excellent. Now, with that same hand, do a sweep up and down your core. What that does, it takes that area that you were just working with and connects it with the whole vertical flow of energy in your body. Okay. That was good. And that is releasing a lot of stale energy. So just take a moment and lift any stale energy in the room out of the room, hold it in light, and let it release into light, or let it release into the center of the planet. Just lift stale patterns that are surfacing out of the room and let them go. Good. Now, everybody looks cleaner. Your attention fibers definitely look more defined and bright and real. And realize, by the way, we have been talking about the core. As you know, you have many energy centers all along the core. And actually, as you get more refined with this practice, you will start to notice which part of the core, which energy center was involved. This brings us to the topic of denial. Generally, people are more aware of one part of the body than another. It is in the less aware places where people have attention fibers that are reaching wherever in time and space and getting stuck and creating fragmentation. The question becomes, how do you find something that you deny, that you have no awareness of? And the answer is, you start to explore, you become familiar with the attention fibers in those places where you feel them most easily, and then you start to tune into other places in the core. And this is how you find areas where you don't seem to have as much attention. And you start to work the fibers, you start to inhabit your attention fibers consciously in those places where you have not been so conscious. And that allows you to start to pull your energy back. And you can do this even if you do not consciously know what the issues are, what people are involved, what situations are involved. Because, of course, you can do this for people as well as for situations. For anything at all in space and time, you can bring your attention back. So, let's just do a little experiment. Just get a sense that there are attention fibers extending from many different places along your core. And get a sense that in some of these places you are able to sense fairly easily, and some you don't really know exactly what's happening there. So bring your attention to one of those places along your core where you don't feel as defined, you do not feel as aware. And just utilize your ability to imagine. Just imagine that there are attention fibers in that part of the body reaching out. And just start to bring those attention fibers in that part of the body back to you. It's very much like a homecoming, because aspects of yourself that you had forgotten about, and aspects of yourself that had forgotten that you are a self, that you are a soul, you are starting to bring those parts back. And you don't have to know exactly what they are. Simply imagine the attention fibers coming back from wherever they've been wandering, whether they've been preoccupied with people or situations or whatever it might be. Okay. Let the attention fibers melt back into your core, and then with one of your hands in that location of the body, just do some energy swirling or make some energy circles, as if you are bringing the energy back and you are decongesting it, you are cleaning it up. You are swirling it and circling it so that it becomes a healthy part of the self once again. That's good. Excellent. That makes everybody look significantly brighter. What that means is that you can work on something even if you don't know exactly what it is. It means that you can work on something even if some part of you had denied it. It brings you back to you. And also, with one of your hands, do some vertical sweeps. because anytime you bring your energy back to you, you want to smooth it out and circle it, but you also want to get the energy flowing vertically, because what that does, it connects all the chakras together, it connects the energy centers. It also unites your nervous system. It's as if you brought back a part that was missing, you united it with the other parts, and now you are sweeping some energy up and down, sweeping some attention up and down. And that really gives a clear signal to every part of your being. This is the self. The self is composed of all these parts. These parts are united. So let's look at something where you get fragmented. You get fragmented because you are fixated on something. In this case, it doesn't have to be a person. You could be fixated on a situation. You could have something that perturbs you, something that always seems to bother you. You seem to be reactive to it. It could be something that's happening now in your life or something that happened decades ago. But whatever it is, if you are in that reactive state, it is likely that your attention fibers are inappropriately stuck in it. And so that means that you are fixated probably from a younger age. In other words, you were less conscious. And whatever it was that overwhelmed you, you got stuck in this situation, and so you find yourself being in reaction to it. So whatever it is that you have such a reaction to, get a sense that you can now respond to it at an entirely new level of conscious choice. So get a sense of your core. Get a sense of your energy. Remember that you are a divine being and you are a being who can choose. So relative to that issue, start to pull your attention fibers from that issue. And notice the beautiful feeling when the attention fibers melt back into your core. Now, if your rational mind is wondering, well, how is this going to fix anything? All you are doing is getting your energy back. Now, that itself is going to fix a lot of things, but it's hard to explain that to the rational mind. All you need to do at this point, just start pulling your energy from that situation and melting your energy back in you. And with one of your hands, smooth out the energy in that location where you bring it back to. That's good. That's working. Now, remember, you're probably bringing it back to the places that you're conscious of. Now, find out what happens regarding this issue, whatever it is. Start to bring attention fibers back to those parts of the body that you are generally less aware of. This is where you are working with your subconscious. You are bringing your attention back to you in those places in the body where you are generally less conscious regarding that issue. This is working with hidden patterns in places where you had gone into denial or had gone unconscious. This is going to make you more empowered, more stable, more focused, more alive. Good. Very nice. Everybody's aura looks bigger and stronger and brighter. That is very nice. Yes. Now, I want to address a question. When you bring your energy back, there might be a feeling of buzzing energy, or it might seem like tension. Actually, what's happening is you have been fragmented and you have been living with a fraction of your presence. And so when your energy returns to you, there might be a feeling of relaxation for some people, but in other cases, people will feel perhaps that they are a little pent up or a little overloaded. It might almost feel like overstimulation because your attention is not used to being so present. There are a couple things we want to do to address that. with one or both of your energy hands, start to sweep up and down your body. And when you get to the hands, sweep out the arms and out the fingertips. And when you get to the feet, sweep out the soles of the feet and out the toes. And this will release any pent-up energy. Another thing that I sense is happening here, when you bring your energy back to you, ideally, you are the only energy that's supposed to be in your space. And so the more you bring the true vibration of you back, it actually starts to push thoughts, feelings, entities, whatever, up to the surface and push that non-self stuff out. And so that can lead to a bit of a pent-up feeling. So anytime you do a process where you bring your true attention back to you, you might at the same time need to do something to release stale energy. And that's so often in these classes, it's why we are lifting stagnant energy out of the room. In this case, you might feel excess energy in your body or your aura. So if you need to, lift the excess energy out of your body, let it release in light, lift the excess energy out of your aura, let it release in light. And again, you can sweep out your fingertips, out your hands, and out your feet as well. And that's going to open up your meridian system and put you in the flow. Now, to be honest, when you bring your energy back, you are going to start to feel a level of sensitivity that might take some getting used to. Now, that doesn't make it a problem. It means that everybody, you, me, and everybody on the planet, have become familiar with being somewhat less aware than we are really as cosmic beings supposed to be. And so when you bring your attention back, you might find that colors look brighter. You might find that your nerves feel at first as if they're on edge because they are literally sensing more. You are becoming more psychic. So let's talk about some ways to work with that enhanced psychic sensitivity. When you breathe, your breathing can smooth you out and stabilize you. So since you might, having returned some energy to your core, feel a little bit more sensitized right now, breathe into your body. Breathe into your body right now with the intention to let that breath sweep soothingly through the body. Let your breath sweep soothingly through the body. That's good. And find the places that feel a bit pent up or a bit much. Breathe through them and let everything smooth out. Now, simply being aware of your breathing will also smooth everything out automatically. Just awareness of breath. And that lets you start to acclimate to the enhanced awareness. Question just came up. What happens if you bring your energy back and you do the energy smoothing and you do the breathing and things feel tight as if they are tight knots? One of the things that we rarely recognize about ourselves is that we have been fragmented, and along with that fragmentation, there are entire levels of the self that we have not felt. And so it's always astounding in a way to ourselves when we start to bring our energy back and start to integrate everything. We start to feel deeper levels that we had not even let ourselves feel. And so, nonetheless, it's no fun to feel that you're tied up in knots. And what do you do when you start to feel these deeper levels? Now, the deeper levels are plugged into something and are probably fragmented as well. So there are several approaches here. One is tune into any tension that you're starting to be aware of and realize that that itself is probably reaching into some reality, probably reaching into some unpleasant reality, in fact. So get a sense that you can tune into that attention fiber and start to melt that attention fiber back to your core. and with your energy hand, smooth it out in that place where it is returning to. And you could even give it an affirmation, such as, "You are safe now." So get a sense that in bringing your energy back, you smooth it out and you say to it, "You are safe now." Now, who is the you that you are talking to? The you that you are talking to is the self. It's the self in your core, and it's also the aspect of self that is returning. It's the aspect of self that was in some other reality. Okay, now let's try that. Any tension, whatever it might be reacting to, whatever it's reacting to, wherever it's reaching out and getting stuck, you do not have to know exactly what it is. You don't even have to have any idea about what it is. You are simply pulling your attention back. You are welcoming the energy back in your core. You are smoothing it out. You are sweeping up and down, uniting that part of the body with every other part of the body. This is interesting. When we work with deeper patterns, I'm noticing a negative affirmation coming up that says, "I am not allowed to be this aware." So, with one or both of your energy hands, gently and soothingly sweep up and down your core and say the following: "I am a cosmic being. I am allowed to be conscious. I choose to be empowered. I choose to be conscious. It is safe for me to be integrated. It is safe for me to be integrated at every level." Good. Excellent. Okay. That was nice. Everybody looks energetically more muscular and taller as well. Taking this to the next level, get a sense that over the course of time, meaning over many lifetimes, you have attention fibers that are unconsciously and uncritically plugging into people, plugging into groups, plugging into teachers, plugging into situations. Get a sense that you do not need to know precisely the time or the place, but use your imagination. Get a sense that you now tune into your attention fibers, and those fibers that are reaching into people, teachers, situations from the past. Your attention is supposed to be with you. Get a sense that there's something more sacred about your attention being in your space. If there was a place that was meaningful to you, if there was a group, a teacher, or a person, that's nice. Whatever you learned from that, you have learned. You don't need to be plugged into it. When you are plugged into something, it's like listening to many conversations, or it's like listening to many radio stations at once. So use your imagination. Start to pull your attention fibers from the different lifetimes. Melt your attention fibers back into your core. Remember, you're not pulling energy from those places. You are not pulling anything from those people. You are pulling your own true attention, melting it back into your core. You're melting it back in your core in present time. And as you do that, that activity is an affirmation of its own. It is affirming, I am here now. I am supposed to be here now. I am not stuck in the past. I am not those people. I am not those places. Now that might perhaps bring up the question, okay, I understand that I'm not in those times, I understand that I'm not in those places with those people, but I am with people now. True, you are associated with people now, but your attention fibers need not be plugged into people. When you bring your attention back to you, you get back to the sacred space of the self. It's like coming back to the sacred temple of self. You can still be associated with people, but you are not bleeding through into their reality. You are not plugged in as if you're on the phone with them psychically all the time, because that only leads to confusion and fragmentation. So you are melting your fibers back to you regarding the present and regarding the past. That looks good. I'm still getting a sense that questions are coming up in the subconscious that are asking, this feels too much. It feels like too much of me. I'm supposed to be fragmented so that I can hide away from reality. So get a sense that you are now permitted to take up the space of you. You are allowed to fill your body, mind, and soul with the energy of your true self. There is nothing arrogant about doing that. It is a completely reasonable, humble thing to do. It is a completely humble thing to be a being who is present in his or her own body, filled with the light of your true self. That is a reasonable, sensible thing to do. Now get a sense that there's more space there, and that spaciousness is okay. But you might perhaps need to become more familiar with what it's like to feel the living, electrical, spacious presence that's now more easily evident to you. So with one of your energy hands, start to swirl through your body, and it might actually feel as if there is more space there now. So sweep through that enhanced spaciousness within you. Sweep circles and spirals and beams of consciousness with your energy hand through your limbs, through the core of your body, through your head, your hands, your feet. Get a sense that you are uniting all the parts of you. Good. Now, let's do some work with emotional issues such as reactive fear. This could be regarding a person. It could be regarding a group. It could be regarding a situation, something that you have fear energy about. Now, do understand, the purpose in doing this is to bring your energy back to you. The purpose is not to deny that certain situations are, in fact, serious. We are not denying the seriousness of something. What's being questioned here is whether you need to be plugged in to something. I'm saying you don't need to be plugged in. You need to get your energy back to your core. So regarding person, group, or situation that you have fear about, notice how if you are having that reaction, you are probably plugged into that reality. So begin to pull your attention fibers back to you. And if the attention fibers seem to be hypnotized by the situation, reach out with your energy hand and pull your attention fibers back to you, very much like pulling a fishing line, reeling in a fishing line and bringing it back to you. Remember, you are not bringing anybody's energy back. You are simply reclaiming your right to have your own energy back where it belongs in your own space. So whatever the reaction is about, pull your energy, melt it back in your core, use your energy hand to sweep and soothe that part of the body where you bring it back, and sweep up and down and unite all the parts of the body. What this allows you to do is to look at that same situation, and yes, it might be a problem situation, but you are able to be reasonably calm, and that lets you have a more proactive response rather than a fearful reactive response. Good. That released a lot of energy. With your energy hands, lift heavy energy out of the room and let it release. Let it go. Very nice. Lift it out, let it go, let it dissolve. Okay. One of the reasons we're focusing tonight on bringing your energy back to you is because the practice of releasing stagnant energies, releasing negative energies, it's a really good practice, but sometimes people try and do everything in their healing practice by releasing stuff that they do not like. The problem with that is that you could release 24 hours a day, but if you do not learn to bring your energy back to your core, and if you do not learn that you do have a core, it's sort of like bailing water in a boat, but there's a hole in the boat. Now, the interesting thing about bringing your energy back to you, it actually starts to plug up the energy holes. It starts to prevent the energy leaks. In fact, one way of saying energy leak could be being fragmented attention fibers that are locked onto people and situations. Question just came up. What about the shamanic practice that involves cutting cords, and what about the practice, or what about the situation where somebody else is reaching into you? Now, we're going to keep it pretty simple this evening, but I want you to consider something. Consider that when it seems that somebody is plugging into you, it's very likely that you, at the same time, are plugging into that person or that group. So if a person or a group is plugging into you, ask yourself, could I bring my attention back from that person, from that group? And consider the possibility that if you thoroughly did so, it would be rather difficult for that person or group to reach into you, because there wouldn't be any frequency for them to do that with. So, something to consider. If it seems that you are pestered by somebody, you pull your attention back to you from that person. And of course, as needed, if you want to pull somebody's attention cords out of you, feel free. But realize, as with bailing water out of a boat that has a hole in it, the more you bring your attention fibers back to you, the less likely other people will be probing you, because you will be filled with the energy of you. In other words, you will not have leaks, you will not have holes in the aura that would even allow such a thing to happen. Now, let's do an experiment. Let's consider that we live on a planet, and the planet has various levels of consciousness. Many of the things that we are fragmented by are huge patterns that are on the planet, and they could be so huge that they affect billions of people. They could be aspects of the group mind. Now you might wonder, okay, I know how to pull my attention back from a person because I can visualize a person. How do you visualize pulling your attention fibers from something as vast as the group mind? Anytime you work with something vast, you need to have a way to symbolize it so that you can work with it, so you can conceptualize it. So when you want to pull your energy back to you from the group mind, you could imagine the group mind as a field of energy around the planet. And you could imagine the planet as a little globe just floating in front of you. Anytime you want to work with something involving the planet, imagine it being small so it's manageable, so you can visualize it easily. So a field of energy surrounding the planet comprises all the combined energy of everybody, the so-called mass consciousness. So just get a sense of it, pretend that you can sense it, and now pretend that you are pulling your aura fibers from the mass consciousness. And you might notice some attention fibers returning in different parts of your body. You might feel that your mind is getting some new energy because you had given a certain level of consciousness or mind energy away to the mass consciousness. So bring your attention fibers back from the mass consciousness. Trust your imagination. Just bring your energy back and really smooth it out when you bring it back to your core. Very nice. Yes. Now, when you work with something that's been affecting you for many years, you could bring your attention back, and then you could do that again. And that's actually true with many aspects of healing. You need to do the technique, and then you repeat the technique, and you keep on repeating it because you are working on many different levels. Each time you do the work, you are working on another layer of the situation. So you bring your energy back from the mass consciousness, and then you ask the question, is there still something within my subconscious reaching out to the mass consciousness? And you trust your intuition, and you bring that attention fiber back. And if you can, you bring many attention fibers back at the same time. But if that seems a bit confusing, just bring them back one by one. Now, when you do techniques like this, only deal with details that come up to the surface if they are truly relevant. If you bring your energy back, you don't have to know exactly what it was you were plugging into. It could be you were plugging into something that would take a book to explain anyway, and you don't have time for that. You might at times realize that you're bringing something back that's coming back from getting fragmented by the mass media. You might be bringing your attention fibers that got lost in a television commercial. On another occasion, you might be bringing it back that got lost in the image of some politician. On another occasion, it could be from something that involves millions of people thinking in a particular way. You could be bringing your attention fibers back from people who watch advertisements, millions of people affected by advertisements. You could be bringing it back from millions of people who believe in certain religious rituals. You could be bringing it back from many different things. So as an experiment, if you want to, you could at times choose to bring your attention back from specific things. You could decide, okay, today I'm going to bring my attention fibers that have gotten stuck in narrow religious practices. I'm going to bring that energy back to me. And I'm going to bring it back from past lives where that happened. I'm going to bring my attention fibers back from the mass consciousness of my neighborhood. That's something that could be affecting you. The region where you live. Try it right now. Just notice what happens when you bring your attention fibers back to your core so that you are not plugged in to the people in the neighborhood. And realize doing this will not estrange you from them. You're not denying their validity as beings. You are not telling them that you cannot be friends with them. You are simply pulling your attention fibers and melting your attention fibers back in your core relative to them. You are owning and acknowledging that you are a being. You are owning and acknowledging that you are a sacred self with your own vibration, your own existence, your own identity. Let's see where we want to take this to bring it to a new level. Tune into your physical body. Tune into the different places in your physical body, different conditions in your body, different things affecting your health and well-being. Now, this is just an experiment, but it could be very useful and it could be healing and empowering. For any part of your physical body that has a condition or a limitation of any kind, consider the possibility that in addition to matters of nutrition and things like this, there could be a weakness in a certain part of the body because of fragmentation. And that fragmentation is something that you are going to address now. So for that part of the body, just get a sense that there are attention fibers reaching out, and they have become stuck. They have created a fragmented state energetically. So regarding that part of the body, start to pull the attention fibers out of wherever they might be stuck and melt those attention fibers back into the core in that region of the physical body. You are bringing your attention back to your core in that region of the physical body. Very good. Melt it back, and with your energy hand, reach into that area of the body and swirl the energy. Welcome the energy that returns. Welcome it back to that place. Very nice. Do some sweeping so that you connect that part of the body with the adjacent parts of the body. So use your energy hand to do that. You are massaging right into your body. And when we talk about massaging with the energy hand, you are literally taking your hand and you are making the motions of massage as if your hand was reaching right under the skin, going deep into the body, smoothing and soothing the energy there. Nice. Okay. Smooth, connect the energy, get it flowing. Now, as always, you could do this practice today, but you could also do it tomorrow, and you could do it as often as you like, because everything in this universe exists in layers. And so it's not uncommon that you pull your energy back and you start to feel a little bit more alert, a little bit more alive, a little bit more conscious, and then you pull the energy again. Because every time you do something that makes you more conscious, that lets you go to the next level. It doesn't mean that you're going backwards if you find that you still have an issue. It means that you successfully cleared a surface layer, and then you are coming to the next deeper layer, and you are doing the healing work there. So never judge yourself. Simply let yourself know that it's okay to work layer after layer after layer. Question just came up. When the energy comes back, and it seems as if it's happening slowly, almost like one of those old lava lamps where everything is oozing and flowing in slow motion, is that normal or okay? Or should it be instantaneous? Well, first of all, normal is whatever is happening. Whatever happens for you, that's normal. But the idea of it feeling lava lamp-like, realize that you are working with your consciousness. Now, even though in theory thought or consciousness is instantaneous, we're working with something deeper than thought. We're working with the body. We're working with the life and the consciousness of the soul. And it is vast. It is as big as the universe. Also, when you bring energy back, you think you're bringing it back from a particular person or a particular situation, but these are patterns that could be millions of years old. So if it seems to be oozing its way into place, that's because all these subtle parts of the self are really reassessing themselves. So it's a really deep thing that you're doing, and it might be fast, it might be slow. Question came up. What happens if you're doing these processes and you're starting to feel clear and then you feel like you're checking out? Is that interference or what is it? Well, it could be any of a number of things, probably simultaneously. One of the reasons that we check out when we start to get conscious is because it takes a while to acclimate to being more conscious. And that's why we're emphasizing smoothing with your hands, because you want to communicate with your body and you want to create the situation where it's easy and safe to do all this. Also, feel free to talk to yourself. Anytime you do this, give yourself some positive affirmations so your body and your subconscious hears from you, from the conscious self, that everything's okay. And last thought on that, if you do check out a bit, it's generally not a problem. It just means that your mind is expressing, whoops, this is more conscious than I'm used to. So just be nice to yourself and be tolerant and let that happen. Okay, question just came up. What happens if you are retrieving your energy and the body feels sensitive or slightly nauseated? Actually, that's very common, and it happens with many different energetic processes. What's actually happening is that you are coming back into your body, and it's a bit of a jolt. So be very gentle, work a little bit more slowly, and use your energy hands to soothe that area and breathe into that area and let it know that it is loved. Now, let's do a concluding meditation. Tune into your core. Get a sense that you are an infinite soul. You are a cosmic eternal being, cosmic eternal self. There are millions of attention fibers that extend from you, and these form your aura. Now get a sense that with your attention fibers now, you are going to do something proactive. You are going to massage every speck of your aura, every inch of your aura, every centimeter of yourself with your attention fibers. So get a sense that these living attention fibers are reaching forth from your core. And as you do that, you are in your core. You're totally present in your core. And your attention fibers are scrubbing your aura, pushing anything away that doesn't belong there, and establishing that you are fully you in the space of your body and your energy field. You are using your attention fibers consciously. Now, we started this evening with reaching out and touching an object, and you've had enough practice with that what I want you to do from now on every day is start to sense how your aura fibers can fill up the space of your aura. Your aura fibers can move. They are living things. They are alive. They can scrub your aura. They can push inappropriate energies away. And this is really owning your space. And when you do this, it's less likely that people would be able to inappropriately plug into your space because you will not have as many leaks. You are plugging the leaks by being conscious with your energy. So that's the concluding meditation. Being conscious in your energy fibers so that they can do what they are meant to do. Your attention is designed to be attentive. It is the presence of you. And when you consider on a cosmic level, your attention fibers are the body of your soul. So think of it that way. Your attention fibers are the body of your soul. So just play with that and let yourself discover the amazing, splendid things that you can discover. Thank you, everyone. Infinite blessings to you on all levels.